A lot of you must remember Alex Galchenyuk. More importantly, you must really remember Alexander Galchenyuk, who, in no uncertain terms, destroyed his son's career, ability to think independently, and just be a normal human being. Is that what Rob Hutson's trying to do to Lane and Cole? Let's talk some puck. Listen, I'm no expert when it comes to this kind of stuff, right? Being there for your athletic kid and telling him what to do and what to say and whatever the case may be. But I do know overbearing parents. After all, I coached minor hockey for the better part of 25 years. Even when I was a player back in, let's say, the 1980s, mid-1980s, and I was playing bantam, there were a lot of parents who, because my brother was my coach, took offense to it. Why? I wasn't the best guy in the team. In fact, every time there was a penalty, and one particular parent had a son who took penalties more often than not, I sat on the bench to allow my brother to manage the bench easier, thinking that it would alleviate some of the problem. Well, it didn't, because apparently people don't see what's happening right in front of them. It led to an argument, and that's what it's going to lead to right here. We saw what happened with Alex Galchenyuk's father, his meddling. The fact that Alexander Galchenyuk went out and became the assistant coach of the Sarnia Sting while Alex was playing for the Sting speaks volumes towards the controlling nature of that parent. And how Alex reciprocated that throughout his career was proof. And how short it was, and how all that talent went down the toilet. Now, of course, Lane Hutson just won the Calder Trophy, coming off an absolutely fantastic rookie season. And the Olympic program, USA Hockey decide we're not sending him to the orientation camp. We don't need him there. And of course, the Americans have all kinds of left-handed depth with experience. It's Guerin's prerogative. And then you have Rob Hutson, Lane and Cole Hutson's dad, who decides, while talking to Grant McCagg, let me put my foot in my mouth. And says this: you never know what might happen in the future. My boys are also Canadian. To which, down at the bottom, you see Brad Marchand responded, get this guy in check. And that's really important here, because here's the actual truth to what Rob Hutson said. It's not as simple as just saying, okay, I'm American today, Canadian tomorrow. In fact, when you've already played for one country, in this case, Lane played for the USA, it takes 4 years for you to play for the Canadian side. And you have to participate 4 years in a row in tournaments. So, in Lane's case, he would have to participate in the World Hockey Championships 4 years in a row in order to be eligible for the next Olympics. Okay, possible. Unless, of course, the Montreal Canadiens go on a deep playoff run, at which point that streak of 4 years would get interrupted, and then he'd have to start all over again. So here's the thing with Mr. Hutson, who he himself played in Milwaukee in the International League, not the greatest player in the world, but knows a little bit about hockey, decides to open his mouth and put his foot in it. Why are you getting involved in your son's career and the decision-making on his end? Why are you publicly talking to somebody about what your son may or may not do, or what both your sons may or may not do? You think maybe Lane doesn't want to play for Team Canada? After all, Brett Hull had dual citizenship and he decided to play for Team USA, when his dad, Bobby, played for Team Canada, very clearly. So why would you put the onus on your son to decide? You're going to decide, hey, you know what, guys? You got snubbed. You're playing for Team Canada. It's asinine to think that way. And there's no guarantees that because he wasn't at the orientation camp, and I mean it's an orientation camp, that he won't be on the Olympic team. If Lane Hutson comes out and has a solid beginning of this season, there's no reason why Bill Guerin wouldn't want him on his team, especially if he's putting up points and he's productive and he shows that he's getting better in the defensive zone at the NHL level. Plus for Guerin if that's the case. And in the meantime, by not putting him on the roster, he may very well be lighting a fire under Hutson's ass. So what's the big deal? If he doesn't go in his first chance to go to the Olympics. In 4 years' time, when Lane's a veteran, more comfortable at the NHL level, more comfortable with professional hockey speed, maybe then he'll be a much more efficient Olympic player for Team USA. And that's probably what Guerin's thinking about. He's got 1 year under his belt. There's no guarantees that he's going to go into the Olympic tournament and play well. It's a different brand of hockey, larger ice, different dynamic. So what's there to say? Well, there's a lot to say. Number one, Rob Hutson, know your role, shut your mouth, and let your son take care of his own business. If he wanted to say, you know what, maybe I'll play for Team Canada, he would have already said it. But that's not the case. So don't start something you can't finish. In the meantime, you put Cole in a bad place too, because what's he going to do? Are they going to pick him to go play in the World Junior Championships now? Maybe. Or did Mr. Hutson screw that up for his younger son? There's repercussions for everything, man. Just because you think you say something, word gets around. Even though Grant McKegg's podcast isn't watched by a lot of people, it doesn't mean that the word doesn't get out and the clip doesn't go viral, because it has. So you think it's nothing, but it gets everybody's attention. And now you backed yourself into a corner, and both your sons, not just Lane, but Cole as well, are going to look at you and say, Dad, back off. And that's what they should do. After all, Cole's going to start his NHL career sooner rather than later too. So what are you going to do? You're going to be bouncing between son to see which one decides to do things your way? No. You're going to do what most coaches tell minor hockey parents, and that's you're going to tell them to back off. I was in a situation once where I was coaching my daughter's it wasn't double B, it was Pewee A girls team. And there wasn't double letters for girls back then. And I only had 5 girls that could skate, my daughter being one of them. And during a game, my best player, who shall remain nameless, her parents, her mom specifically, started yelling from the stands, "Don't pass the puck to that girl. She can't skate." Now, I don't know what girl she was talking about, because when you look at my roster, I had 18 girls and only 5 could skate, so there was quite a few that couldn't. But it still pissed me off to the point where I told my assistants, hang on, I'll be right back. I walked around to the stands, stepped up behind the lady, tapped her on the shoulder. I said, and if you ever talk like that again, I'm going to cut your daughter. And I walked back to the bench. Rest assured, she never opened her mouth. And that's exactly what Rob Hutson may have in store for him if he continues to run his mouth talking about what his sons will and won't do as far as international hockey is concerned. Let the professionals deal with it and sit back and do what most parents should do and enjoy the ride. Unlike most, you've got 2 kids that are talented, and you're going to be able to enjoy it from both perspectives. So shut up. Let the agents be the agents. Let them do the talking if they want to. If the agent thought it would be beneficial to open his mouth and threaten that, he would have done it for Cole, for Lane, but he didn't. So what does that tell you, Mr. Hutson? Know your role. Shut your mouth. You never made it to the NHL. You never made it to the big time. But the big time has some pretty strict rules about the brotherhood. And the brotherhood says you mess with it and you end up on the outside. We've seen that happen before in professional sports, especially in this city in Montreal, not necessarily with hockey, but in our case, it was baseball and Bill Lee. So don't get involved in your kid's stuff, man. Let him deal with his own things. Let him say, you know what? Mr. Guerin might have made a mistake not picking me, and I'm going to prove it to him. Simple. Show him that you've got the incentive to play better. Even though I don't see how you could play much better than you did last year, other than in your own zone. So there it is. Rob Hutson, shut up. Let your kids be your kids. Let them deal with their careers how they see fit. Because after all this started primarily because apparently Lane didn't go to the World Championships, and that's why they didn't pick him. And yet, how does that rule not apply to Cole Caulfield, who did not go either to the World Championships last year? Kind of stupid when you think about it that way, but it is what it is. So, for all of you out there who are parents of kids that are in hockey or any other sport for that matter, whether it's baseball, soccer, whatever the case may be, back off. If there's one thing I learned stepping away from coaching my kids, is that I enjoyed them playing a hell of a lot more when I was outside the bench and watching from the stands than I was behind the bench telling them what to do. I had one daughter who was a defenseman and I had another one who was a goaltender. And both of them played extremely well, but decided to go their own ways. One daughter decided to become a competitive dancer. The other decided she wanted to do something else with her spare time. More power to you. But at the end of the day, those years that they spent playing, as a parent, I enjoyed every minute of it. As a coach, maybe not so much, but hey, nothing's perfect. So just step back and enjoy what your kids do athletically. In fact, enjoy everything that they do in life. Take pride in their successes. But don't sit there and yap when somebody tells your kid, you know what, not this time. Because it's happened to kids before in life. And all it does is fire them up. Do you not think that Lane Hutson got passed aside in his past because of his size? He has. And he persevered. Same as his head coach, Marty St. Louis, did. So they know what to do when faced with adversity. So chill, dude. Leave it all alone. And let Lane and let Cole deal with things as they see fit. And that's it. Be dad. Throw some encouragement their way. Smile when they do well. Don't smile when they don't. And be there as a helping hand instead of a burden. That's all they ask for. And you may very well enjoy the ride.